forming our steroid biosynthesis even.
Steroid biosynthesis.
Yeah, so cholesterol is the building block of all of our steroid hormones. So the very first step where cholesterol turns into pregnenolone, which is kind of the grandmother steroid, happens in the mitochondria.
Oh, wow. That was super important. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't really talk about the mitochondrial health. All right, guys, Dr. Beth McDougall here today. We're going to talk longevity. Thanks for coming in today.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So what's new in the space?
Oh my gosh, so much. Just we really have the tools now and the knowledge to extend life and healthspan, and that's what I spend all my day doing with people.
Yeah, just looking at studies and seeing what the next new thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like every year there's a new device or a new method for biohacking, right?
And it's really a new understanding about how you keep your mitochondria kind of energized and really improve the energetics in the system. I feel like with optimal energetics, we don't really have to age.
Right.
We age biologically, but chronologically, but not biologically.
Yeah, so what exactly is energetics for people that are pretty beginner to this?
Well, you think about, first of all, just backing up, that we live in a field of energy and information. Not only do we live within it, but it lives within us, and we and every other aspect of our material reality is derived from it. And when you look at the kind of structure and makeup of this field, like at the quantum level, it's incredibly potent and energetic. And the energy transfers up in the kind of a fractal nature to the different scales, from the quantum scale all the way up to the universal scale.
Wow.
And our biology is hooked right into that. You know, it has the same patterns, the same ratios, the same organization, but just at a different scale.
Yeah.
So I really think the mitochondria are kind of our plug-in, so to speak, into this unlimited field of energy. And so if we can keep our mitochondria optimized and really improve mitochondrial energetics, we don't have to age.
That's fascinating. So over time, the aging process is because of mitochondrial damage, or how does that work exactly?
Absolutely. Yeah, the mitochondria get damaged from toxic fats that collect in the mitochondrial membrane, oxidative damage, and then also we're not spending enough time outside. We've disconnected from the diurnal patterns of the earth. And actually that reconnecting is super critical for optimal mitochondrial function. If you go outside in the morning and put your bare feet on the earth and watch the sun come up, you know, and kind of crest the horizon, you're getting the red light, the near infrared light. That's very good for the mitochondria.
Yeah, good old grounding. Hard to beat that.
Yeah, and those wavelengths of light that predominate in the early morning hours are really informing our body that it's daytime, and actually informing our steroid biosynthesis even.
Steroid biosynthesis.
Yeah, so cholesterol is the building block of all of our steroid hormones. So the very first step where cholesterol turns into pregnenolone, which is kind of the grandmother steroid, happens in the mitochondria.
Oh, wow. That was super important. Yeah, people don't really talk about the mitochondrial health.
And the mitochondria actually make a lot of melatonin. You know, we think about melatonin primarily being made by the pineal in the brain, but the mitochondria make melatonin as well, and it's an antioxidant that protects the mitochondria from oxidative stress.
Interesting. So if people have trouble sleeping, it might be poor mitochondrial health then.
Well, yes, and kind of back to what I was saying, like if you have trouble sleeping, it's the diurnal, you're not hooked up with the diurnal cycle of the earth. So going outside in the morning actually informs your body that it's daytime.
Yeah.
And that allows, as those ratios of the different wavelengths of light are shifting throughout the day, it allows the body to wind down more naturally for sleep at night, provided we're not interfering with a lot of blue light exposure and all of that.
So people that work night shifts and graveyard shifts, that must be really bad for you.
It is tough. Yeah, it's really stressful on the body.
Yeah, because I see the guards at the guard gates or security, and they look like they're falling asleep.
Yeah, I know. I feel so sorry for people that are doing that.
Damn. Yeah, I wonder if there's have you seen those things you put on your desk? It stimulates sunlight.
Yeah.
Do you think those have any effectiveness?
I think it would help. Probably they would just have to flip their pattern and get some kind of sun wavelengths at night.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wonder if those stuff like the grounding.
If starting the new year off with a fast feels a little daunting, you're not alone. Shout out to today's sponsor, Prolon. They're an entire community of individuals that want you to make meaningful differences in health. And it makes fasting so powerful because you have a group of people around you. I'm joining their January Fasting Challenge, which is a coach-led program to set you up for fasting success. It's a 5-day program. It's filled with snacks, soups, and beverages that are designed to keep your body in a fasting state with no guesswork or planning required. Got the boxes laid out right here so you guys can check it out. It's also great for so many things. It enhances your skin, it enhances fat loss, and it improves your energy. All their meals are prepackaged, like I said, no guesswork, and it's perfect for after the holiday season where you stocked up on a lot of heavy meals. If you're ready to make 2025 your healthiest year yet, you can order your Prolon 5-day kit at prolon.com/DSH and join in on their fasting challenge today. New groups start every Sunday in January. Plus, Prolon is offering Digital Social Hour listeners 15% off their 5-day program when you go to prolon.com/DSH. That's prolon.com/DSH.
Mats where you plug in the wall. I always wonder if stuff like that works.
Well, yeah, definitely. There's good grounding, good evidence for that.
Really?
Yeah, you start flooding electrons into your system, which helps to charge up your cell membrane, which are like batteries. You know, our cell membranes, we have 37 trillion cells, and the membrane charge, it should be negative from electrons. It's also influenced by the kind of mineral content of our body. It's also influenced by water and structured water within our cells, which is influenced by infrared energy, which we also get from being outdoors.
Yeah.
But that grounding mat's it's like being outside and putting your bare feet on the earth, kind of on steroids.
Wow. Someone sent me one for my bed.
Yeah.
That you sleep on.
Yeah, I sleep on one too.
Oh, you do? Okay, I might have to start then. Wow, I did not know they were that effective.
Yeah, they are.
Interesting. What other machines you got at the house?
Oh my gosh, the house. Pulsed electromagnetic field device, which is also like grounding on steroids, and at my center is where I use all my my tech, because we have 3 Novathor beds, which are the kind of top of the line red light bed and near infrared light beds, and we have 3 because I use it for everything. You know, when I'm creating protocols for people, I wrap that into most everyone's protocol, because those devices have been shown to upregulate the cytochrome C oxidase, which is one of the enzymes in the mitochondria. You know, the mitochondria, first of all, let's put it in perspective. I mean, we have 37 trillion cells, and every cell has, depending on what cell type it is, has like either hundreds to tens of thousands of mitochondria.
Wow.
So I mean, that's a hell of a lot of
I can't even
mitochondria.
compute the number on that.
Yeah,
it's in
I
the
know.
quadrillions.
Yeah. And so there's inside the mitochondria, you've got a series of enzymes that will take oxygen and glucose and run them through those chemical steps to produce ATP, which is the energy currency of the body. And one of those enzymes is called cytochrome C oxidase, and it gets blocked by toxins. It also gets blocked by intracellular nitric oxide that can elevate, and then the energetics of the cell goes way down.
Interesting.
And that affects the cell membrane potential, which makes the cell kind of, first of all, more acidic, also more vulnerable to invasion by microorganisms, and actually can set up a cancer kind of milieu.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So you want to try to keep your cell membrane potential as negative as possible, and you want to be able to have the optimized energetics, because you need that ATP to fuel all your biochemical interactions.
Makes sense. Yeah, I use the red light sauna almost every day.
Yeah.
And I feel pretty good after.
Yeah, red light is incredible, because those enzymes in the mitochondria are kind of like the rods and cones in your eye. They're photosensitive, and the enzyme will literally change configuration when the wavelengths of red and near infrared light hit them. And then that will knock the nitric oxide or the toxin off that enzyme and kind of liberate it, so it's ready to function more efficiently.
Wow. So light therapy is super efficient.
Super important.
And it's not too expensive too, which I like. You can buy those panels or whatever for pretty good price.
That's true. You do get what you pay for. in terms of like the density of the lights and the lumens that they give off, and the coordination of the release of the photons.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, I've seen some fancy ones for sure. I've been in a bed that was like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, the Novathors are.
I think it might have been that one.
The ultimate.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
was insane.
I think 140 something
Damn.
per bed.
Yeah. Those oxygen chambers are expensive too.
Yeah.
I wanted to get one for my house. I was like, this is like $100,000.
Yes, huge investment, but also a good one.
Feels good. Can't lie. But for now, I'm renting at my local wellness center.
Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, that stuff cured, or I can't use that word on YouTube, but it helped with my TBI.
Oh, yes. Absolutely important for traumatic brain injuries. We do a ton of work with TBIs at Jizen, which is my center, which is a biooptimization center. We have a neuroscience department, and we have a neuroscientist that will do quantitative QEEGs, where we look at the brainwave patterns of all the different parts of the brain, and we can see if there are underactive areas, like low voltage areas of the brain that from a head trauma. We can also see inflammation in the brain, or parts of the brain that are hypocoherent, kind of firing 24/7, like the limbic system because of a trauma or just chronic stress, even birth trauma.
There's birth trauma?
Yeah, like like some babies have near-death experiences as they're coming through.
Oh, because they get suffocated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, or they have head injury, just like being pulled out, or
Yeah, I don't even know what mine stemmed from, because I didn't have a concussion that I recall growing up. But when I went to get a brain scan, I had some areas of my brain that weren't getting that flow.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it doesn't. You don't actually have to be passed out. It can be just anything that causes like an acceleration, deceleration. Your brain is just gonna kind of like, it's soft, and then you've got the hard skull, so the brain will kind of hit one side and then bounce off and hit the other.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you work with a lot of fighters, so you've probably seen some crazy scans.
It's extraordinary. I mean, like, my God, people that are repeatedly hit in the head, you just have these kind of low voltage areas all over. But the great news is that we can help them. So we do a lot of targeted red light called via light. And then our neuroscientist has kind of developed this protocol where people will go on this bike called a Vasper, just like a kind of like you're moving your arms and moving your legs at the same time while you have compression cuffs on your upper arms and upper thighs that have cold liquid in there. So you're having compression therapy, cryotherapy, and you're doing kind of a HIIT workout while you're breathing oxygen.
Whoa.
And so that is really good for kindling those kind of like low voltage neurons after the via light. And then we also do a lot with peptides. So cerebral lysin, for example, is an intravenous push that we do, and it has a whole variety of neuro growth factors that just really stimulate kind of neuroplasticity.
Yeah, peptides are an interesting topic because they got banned. A lot of them got banned in Cali, right?
Yeah,
where
they
you're
did.
at.
They're coming back though.
They are. RFK is bringing them back.
Yeah, thank God for RFK.
Yeah, I'm excited to see his changes.
Oh my God, I know. He's such a great guy. I've known him for a really long time.
Nice. Was he always big on health when you knew him earlier?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to make extraordinary changes.
Yeah, it's needed because the FDA, I mean, it's hard to trust them.
Just this governmental overreach. I know, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Like when I've been practicing for 26 years now, and I had so many more tools in the beginning that have just progressively, one at a time, been taken away.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not just peptides, it was other stuff too?
No, like a lot of my intravenous ingredients and, so many things.
Meanwhile, they're giving kids 100 vaccines.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
It's just tragic, but now finally it's coming to light.
Yeah. More and more people are opting out of those vaccines for their kids now.
And as they should. I mean, like, this needs to be seriously looked at scientifically. And just none of them have been subjected to good scientific studies.
Right. And all the studies are isolated. So, like, one vaccine isn't damaging, but the problem is that there's 6 in
synergistic
one.
effect of all of these at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
overwhelming.
And I remember in high school, I had to get them to play sports or else you couldn't be on the team.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're still doing that, but that's pretty crazy if they're putting all the athletes on those.
They are still doing that.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah, public school's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
You send your kids to public school?
Well, my daughter is now graduated from college, but she went to a Waldorf-inspired school, private school, and it was great. It's like an idyllic situation.
Yeah. I plan on doing that with my kids, either private or homeschool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool new private schools popping up these days.
I think we're also going to see a huge revolution in education now coming with this next administration. So
I mean, they want to get rid of the Department of Education. So
which is like a wet blanket. So I think it's going to be unleash like a whole variety of different educational options.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really cool one when I was growing up. I went to an open school where
what's that?
Well, it was in Minneapolis and kind of like the inner city of Minneapolis, and we got to choose from a smorgasbord. They called it a smorgasbord of different options every day. And so the teachers, which were a bunch of hippies and stuff, would just like teach courses that they were interested in. So, if it was photography or geometry or snow sculpture building or modern dance or yoga or whatever. And so each day you had like 3 periods. You got to choose 3 of these.
Whoa.
And then those would last for 6 weeks, and then there would be a whole crop of new. And then for the rest of the day, you would just study at your own pace. And there would be people helping if you had questions.
That's incredible.
It was the best.
Yeah, that sounds fun because then you get to see what you like.
I know. And so I was really good at math, so I totally excelled at that. And then I would, we had all these forts and stuff. I got to just hang out and read cool books and then do yoga and modern dance. And,
that's how childhood should be, just exploring.
It was so awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely not like that anymore.
Yeah.
I was going crazy, sitting 8 hours a day with my ADHD.
That is inhumane.
No, it's literally torture. Now that I look back and reflect on it, I mean, I was just so much energy, and then the school lunch is terrible for you, and a lot of different things.
Oh my God, I envision a definitely new era where we're giving kids nutritious food at school, for lunch and maybe before school, just so that at least if someone doesn't have good food at home, they're having it those 2 meals.
Right. Well, I'm actually learning you could eat for a decent price. You know what you're doing.
Totally.
It doesn't have to be super expensive.
Right. Yeah, no, it's so important that we're eating vital, organically farmed food of multiple varieties, and just really training people kind of common sense about eating, and just let's ditch this whole packaged, highly ultra processed food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is just poison.
Super poisonous. Mm-hmm. How many centers you got now? Is it just the one?
Just the one right now, but we're developing programs. We're about to do some franchising of the center. Yeah.
Got to come to Vegas.
I know. It'd be a good spot for one.
Very good. People
really good.
hungover, come up to the center the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to overtake just hospitals. There's going to be more centers than hospitals eventually.
Well, I was just, I do think Western medicine has its strengths, right? I had a patient whose son had mono and it enlarged his spleen, and then he didn't know he had mono, and he went out and played soccer, took a knee to the abdomen, and it ruptured his spleen, and they didn't know, and they brought him into the ER. The doctor kind of noticed something wasn't quite right, did an ultrasound right away. Sure enough, he was internally bleeding, got him into surgery.
Dang.
That's what Western medicine's good at, right? Thank God for America, really, because that wouldn't have necessarily been done like that elsewhere. But what we need, what Western medicine is not good at, is teaching people how to be healthy and how to stay well and how to prevent disease. And actually, what's really needed and what Western medicine doesn't do is teaches people how to reverse the trajectory of chronic illness. Because it's really in your control. If you've got prediabetes, you've got diabetes, and you're looking toward a path of cognitive decline, heart disease, autoimmunity, cancer because of that. You can turn that train around just by eating differently, beginning to exercise properly, getting your hormones balanced, getting on some peptides that are needed, treating, underlying issues. But this can be turned around in a fairly short period of time.
Agreed. Yeah, I think both are needed. Yeah, it saved my life too. Actually, I had pretty bad bronchitis during COVID.
Yeah.
So it definitely saved me. But preventative, I would go Eastern all day.
Yeah. So we just need these parallel systems. And most of the healthcare is done in the system of wellness care, really, and education, and giving people the tools they need. That's what we do at Jizen. We really put the data in their hands. We've partnered with a group called Heads Up, And I love them because they did exactly what I envisioned. They spent a lot of money and a lot of time to figure out how to collate data from all different types of data streams, including blood labs, but also like wearables, like continuous glucose monitors, Oura Ring for measuring your sleep at night, smart scales, and then we make prescriptions that are like, eat this particular way, maybe consider intermittent fasting a couple days a week. I'm just making that up because it's not good for everyone, but do muscle training workouts 3 times a week, maybe HIIT training twice a week, and then zone 2 cardio on the other times. And then we say, take these supplements, let's balance your hormones. And then they can see in real time when they do a red light therapy, for example, like what happens to their deep sleep at night, what happens to their heart rate variability, that night. Like, so it's like you can start to see this cause and effect relationship, and then zoom out a little bit and see how the blood labs change. Every 6 weeks to 3 months, you're checking the kind of metabolic markers, and you're checking the cholesterol and the hormones and all of that, and just watching things move in a good direction.
I love that approach because a lot of people want to see their results as quick as possible.
Well, it's the best biofeedback tool, right? Yeah. Like, you really are like, whoa, okay, I do this and this happens. Or like I drink before bed and my deep sleep goes to hell, and my, HRV is terrible. And yeah.
That's why I like the 8 Sleep.
Oh, you like
the
that
mattress?
One?
Yeah, I just got it, and it's really insightful. And I just did a VO2 max test, and that was really eye-opening.
Isn't it? I love it. We have a metabolic testing department at Jizen where we do VO2 max, we do resting metabolic rate, body composition analysis, and even things like spirometry and grip strength, so that we get a full kind of like understanding of where someone's weak spots are, so we can give them like training prescriptions.
Right. What's spirometry?
That's where you're measuring your tidal volume of your lungs and your forced kind of how much air you can blow out in a certain period of time.
Interesting.
It's just kind of the strength of your lungs, because your lungs can be trained.
I got to try that one out.
It's really cool.
That sounds fun. And grip strength, I use those forearm things.
Yeah.
Those flexors, those are fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing. And grip strength, is really kind of just a marker of your overall level of fitness. Because in order to have good grip strength, you're probably having to lift heavy things, and move and be doing. It's not just about like, oh, I'm training these muscles, but I'm training my whole body, and these are improving. Yeah, but it's associated with longevity.
I love that. I had Dr. Andy Galpin on the show. He's one of Huberman's biggest guests.
Oh, okay.
He's like a VO2 max expert, but I showed him my results, and he said it was so bad.
Oh.
So I didn't realize how important VO2 max was.
It's huge.
He said it's one of the biggest markers for longevity.
One of the biggest. It's actually just associated with, just kind of reduction in all-cause mortality if you can improve your VO2 max. And some people are really strong in certain areas and some people are weak in other areas.
Yeah.
But what we love to see is like, when you start out at low levels of exertion, you're burning fat. And then there's a point where you kind of switch into carbohydrate burning. And that point is really an interesting point, so that you can start to advise people, like depending on what their goals are, like if their goal is to burn fat, you often need to exercise at a fairly low level of endurance.
Interesting.
To keep in that zone of fat burning.
How do you identify that rate, like when it switches over?
Well, you're measuring the gases in the breath, and you emit different gases when you're burning fat versus when you're burning carbohydrates.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So everyone should find out where they're at.
It's so important. It really is. I mean, like, so, it's just crazy, like in a given day. So many people come in and they're like, their number one complaint is wanting to lose fat.
Yeah.
And some people it's like, I want to put on muscle, but they're super closely linked. So yeah, we've developed like a full metabolic program where we can test, especially if people are like, I do everything right. I eat well, I exercise, I cannot get this fat off. They're just stuck. Then we'll really broaden out our workup. We'll do like insulin glucose tolerance tests where we're bringing someone in fasting and then putting an IV in their arm, measuring their blood, and then having them drink a solution, and then measuring insulin and glucose at different time points going forward to see like how is their body handling that sugar load.
Right.
Then we'll combine that data with the typical blood labs of like hemoglobin A1C and the lipid panel and inflammatory markers and insulin and glucose, and then hormones. And then we'll do the VO2 max testing and the resting metabolic rate, and then just kind of crunch all that data, especially also including sleep data, because that's hugely important for your metabolism. And then we kind of figure out a program for them.
A full circle
What's
thing.
the best way to eat? What's the best way for you to work out? Like a lot of times people are like carb restricting too much, or they're caloric restricting too much. You know, they're not eating enough. That actually happened to me. I was like kind of always been a carb restrictor just traditionally, and then I started intermittent fasting, and so then my calories went way down and my metabolism slowed down. So a lot of times these things you think are going to be really good end up backfiring.
Right.
Because they're too stressful in the body, and they release cortisol, and that raises your blood sugar, which raises your insulin and continues to bombard your insulin receptors and kind of makes them more resistant.
I can see that because people promote these diets, but it doesn't work for everyone.
It doesn't, and you know if you're stuck, well let's get some data and figure out why you're stuck, and then make like really accurate recommendations based on your testing of what you can do to kind of turn this around.
Yeah. Have you seen a massive difference in blood work with carnivores and vegans?
Oh yeah, sad to say, but absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like that answer because you're actually analytical with it, because people always debate about it, but you actually have data to back up what you're about to say.
Yeah, I think that protein is a really important macronutrient. We need it to maintain our muscle mass. We need it to kind of trigger an anabolic response in the body that like causes us to not only improve our muscle mass, but the health of our muscle cells. And then the amount of muscle that we have on our bodies and the health of the muscle, it kind of is directly proportional to our resting metabolic rate, which is where we burn most fat. So we burn fat at rest, and we at the lower kind of levels of endurance when we're working out. But that's when we burn fat. So what ends up happening to a lot of vegans is that they're not eating enough protein. And so not only does their resting metabolic rate go down, but then, and not only does their longevity go down, unfortunately, because they don't have enough muscle mass when muscle contains a ton of mitochondria. So it's been said, and I totally agree, that muscle mass is the currency of longevity. It really is. And then, unfortunately, they don't have like quite enough amino acids to maintain collagen structures, and you will often see long-term vegans with like cracks in their teeth, or like kind of cracked teeth.
I've seen that.
Bone loss and kind of like where the skin just is losing some of its integrity and all of that.
Interesting. So long-term, you don't think it's the move for most people?
No, and then you can also get deficient in B vitamins and iron, and so you do. Once in a while, someone thrives on a vegan diet. Like everyone's unique. There's no one diet that's right for everyone. And once in a while, I will see someone that does well, but it's the exception.
Yeah, you don't want to be the exception. It's way harder to be the exception.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Johnson is the exception. He's on a vegan diet.
Is he?
Yeah. What do you think of him?
Well, I think it's cool that he's putting his money to kind of advancing the field of longevity, and he's willing to experiment on himself. So I appreciate that he's out there kind of on the fringes doing his thing. Yeah.
A lot of spiritual people are on the vegan diet.
That's true.
And there is another component that I don't see talked about often, which is the energetic component of meat and how it's sourced.
Oh my God. That is so important. Yeah, I just think the factory farming situation out there in the world is so inhumane, and animals are treated so poorly, and it's just unhealthy living conditions that's breeding infections, and then there's antibiotic use, and it's just tragic, actually.
It is, yeah. So I stopped buying from the grocery store my meat.
Yeah, I think if you're going to eat meat, you want to get it from the farmers directly at the farmer's market, where you really know that animals are being treated well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to this company. They don't even sponsor the show, but farmfreshtoyou.com. Have you heard of them?
No.
So they're just a bunch of farmers, and they supply a lot of grocery stores.
Oh, cool.
But it's all like good quality stuff.
Awesome.
I just met them at my local's farmer's market.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I get my meat there now, or the local butcher. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to eat locally as much as possible.
Me too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I totally appreciate the the idea that, you know, that a lot of spiritual people have, that we're not supposed to eat another animal. So that's why I've prefaced the whole conversation here with saying, like, I hate to say it, but just facts are, like, in the blood work and watching people age. I've probably sat behind the desk from 50,000 people over the years.
Damn.
I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time. And a lot of the patients that I started with in 1998 are still with me.
Wow.
You know, I've been watching people age. So, yeah, I mean, people tend to age better when they incorporate some animal protein. I think you can probably do it as a vegan. You just have to be super conscientious.
Yeah. What do you think of those biological age tests?
I think we're still waiting for a really good one.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I took the cheek one and it said I was like 21, but I don't know how they judge that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I still haven't found one that I'm super ready to get behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know because I took a blood test like the next month and I had a lot of deficiencies. So I don't know how they're calculating that biological age.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to this next A4M, you know, kind of perusing the whole exhibit hall and just kind of, I'm always on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
Because I have the ways of tracking people's progress as they're going through these protocols I put them on, but that I would love to find one that I feel good about.
Yeah. I love how you incorporate the spirituality component because a lot of, you know, doctors don't do that at all.
Yeah. I mean, right from the get-go, before I went to medical school, I was just very interested in the energetic nature of reality. And also kind of right before it was a big topic, psychoneuroimmunology. I was interested in kind of how we store experiences that have happened to us and kind of the reverberation of how we would have what's happened to our parents and, you know, kind of the ancestral lines.
Right.
You know, we actually are programmed by, you know, the messaging that we receive early on, and all of those things kind of sit in our field. They affect how we see the world. They affect our projections, our perceptions, the choices we make. And I think stagnant energy in the field that's not kind of like looked at and excavated and cleared will eventually manifest in a physical problem.
100%. I've had to get rid of a lot of limiting beliefs over the years.
Same
that
here.
I had from childhood.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, because my family environment was pretty, I would say, tumultuous. Like my parents got divorced, so I'm around that energy as a kid, just fighting. So that definitely affected me growing up.
Totally. It affects every one of us. And so at a certain point, you have to, like a great entree in is to kind of look at your life, but from a critical standpoint of like, okay, why am I making these choices that I'm making? It probably is a reflection of a belief that I have about myself that was set in place early on.
Right.
Do I want that? Like, can you call it up for analysis, like so that you can decide, do I want it anymore?
And that's
Yes
the
or no?
first step, that awareness. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't even get there.
You're right. It's true. And it takes like a daily practice, I think, of meditation, tuning in. And then it also takes kind of agency, like taking responsibility for your life. A lot
Right.
of times things will happen to someone and they'll have like almost like a victim mindset about it.
Yep.
You know, they will be like, why is this happening to me? You know, as opposed to curiosity of like, oh, this has happened. Why did it happen? Why did I choose this? And why is this situation here? What's it here to teach me? And what can I learn about myself because of it and
Right.
change? Yeah. So I think it's an orientation.
Yeah, at a certain point, you got to take accountability, right? Because I see a lot of people like with anger issues, or maybe they're depressed and they're like, oh, my parents, you know, did that to me growing up.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you got to like take accountability for that.
100%. Yeah. And I also see it with health problems too. You know, you don't want to blame, quote, the victim. You know, I've been on podcasts and talking about this, and people have given me a lot of hate before. However, I feel like no matter what you have, whether it's cancer or even Lyme disease or you name it, I do encourage people to kind of go within and just really see, like, what is it here to teach you? What can I learn from this? How can I clear the energetics that maybe kind of led to this? on a physical level, what can I do to change my mindset about it as well?
Right.
A lot of times people will have a physical symptom and right away, they kind of, it triggers like a response of anger or fear or kind of like a poor me or whatever. But if you go into those kind of lower vibratory states, you're going to have worse symptoms.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you can kind of not succumb to the fear and be like, I still got this, I can still clear this and keep positive, it will just bring you up and kind of help your body get on top of it.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you hear the stories of people getting these stage 4 cancer diagnoses and who survives versus who doesn't,
Yep.
and you look at the mindset of the ones that survive,
Yeah.
it's like they always thought they were going to make it.
They do. That's right. They thought they would be the 3% that didn't die from that cancer, in that 3%. Or they, just the stories of spontaneous remissions are so incredible.
Yeah, I've heard a few of those.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful giving timetables. Like,
Totally.
you have this amount of time to live. I think that's dangerous.
God, I know. It's like a hex.
Pretty much, yeah. They're manifesting it in a way, because then they're going to believe that, internalize it.
That's right.
Dangerous.
Totally.
Yeah, I think they should get away from that.
I agree.
Well, Dr. Beth, it's been really fun. Anything else? I know you got 3 other companies.
Yeah. I am chief medical officer for a company called Kenobi, and it's got 13 sub-entities. And so a lot of them are health focused. And so I've been involved in multiple companies. One of my companies is here in Nevada. It's called Immunocore. And we're studying the effects of some pox family viruses. So one of them is a parapox virus, and it's been used as an oncolytic virus in our work, in our research in vitro, and we're just beginning animal trials, but we've had great success with pancreatic cancer already, in 6 different pancreatic cancer cell lines, and really good success with gastric cancer, head and neck cancers, triple negative breast cancer, and we're continuing to study different tumor lines. But the first one that we're going to do in animals is pancreatic.
Nice.
And then we'll be kind of putting together a package to sit down with a biotech partner on that.
That's
for
exciting.
Licensing. Yeah, so that's been incredibly fun. And then a lot of our companies are more based on new thinking in physics. So like I was talking about, if we really understand how to plug ourselves back into this almost infinite field of energy, it will slow the aging process. It will create, it will kind of transmute dissonance in the system, et cetera. But, everything boils down to information and energy, basically. And so a lot of our companies are finding new ways to deliver information signatures. So everything in nature has a particular kind of electromagnetic and geometrical information signature. Magnesium has one, and strepbacterium has one, and you name it, everything has a signature. So we have one company that's figured out how to both measure the information signature of something and then transfer it to a substrate.
Whoa.
So we can imbue the signature into a substrate. Like I'm wearing a patch right now, the focus patch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. But that is, whenever I do a podcast or something, I put one of these on because it's just boom, like you're so focused.
You could feel it instantly?
Yeah, and it doesn't have any actual chemicals in here.
Holy.
But it's got information signatures of things in nature that are really good for focus.
Yeah, is that scalar energy?
Well, scalar tech is used in the transfer of the signature to a substrate.
That's amazing.
So we've studied for a long time of the appropriate substrates that are perfect for holding data. And then we also looked for years to find the right adhesives because they play a role in the transfer of the information. So through kind of an electrodermal interaction, the information in the patch transfers into the body. And we have a patch. There's a really good, one of our companies that has white labeled this is Vibrance. You can get it on Amazon. There's a pain patch that Vibrance does. They do the focus patch. They do one for sleep, and they do one for stress.
That's incredible. I'm going to try those out.
They're so amazing.
Yeah, we'll link that below for sure.
And then we do the same where we we use information signatures in agriculture. So one of the companies is called Upterra, and you'll find them on social and Instagram. But they're installed in like hundreds of thousands of acres now of different farming crops. And we've structured water in such a way that it becomes better able to hold information. But actually, it's at a really fast flow rate. So we have like things that we put over pipes, like even large pipes that water crops with one of those sprayers that kind of can spray over large areas. So that's a very fast flow rate. But we structure the water, and then we imbue information signatures of nitrogen and different fertilizer elements that are nutrients that the plants need into the water.
Wow.
So because the water's structured, the plants take it up so much better, and so the water usage is lower. Like we've cut it down to 50%, like for almond groves, for example. And the information signatures can fully replace using chemical additives.
That's so exciting because the tap water these days is so bad for you.
Yeah.
So that's a game changer. Wow. I can't wait to see more farms using that technology.
Yeah. And then one of the things that's on the horizon that I'm most excited about that I think is important for longevity is that Nissim Harriman is a friend of mine. He's a physicist, and he's written a paper recently called The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. And it's on Sonodo, which is like a kind of a preprint server through CERN. So it's a beautiful paper. But what he's described are the actual kind of coupling constants and formulas of like how our biology kind of hooks into the field of information and energy that we are derived from, basically. And so what I think we'll be creating going forward is a chamber, probably involving scalar energy and coupling constants that will allow us to more seamlessly couple to the field, because we lose our connection as we go through life. That's really the reason why we age. Our body gets kind of contaminated with misinformation that come from these information signatures of toxins and bad fats and, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so all of that misinformation almost becomes like static on the radio. And it really reduces kind of the seamless exchange of energy from the field into our biology. So I think there'll be ways to kind of go into chamber, so to speak, that will both transmute the dissonant signatures and enhance the energetics. And then we really don't need to age. So I don't think that it's pie in the sky to say one day we'll be living to 200. But it's one thing to live that long. It's another thing to do it well, to have a health span. And that's really what I'm all about.
I love it. We'll link all of that below. That's exciting to see you working on all that stuff. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, Sean.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out our stuff below. See you next time.